Let's see if we got anyone. All right. Here we go. What is PERSIST Institute? This is live from San Diego. And tonight, we're going to be talking about something that is critical to your success as a member of PERSIST Institute. And I sent out a couple of emails talking about what we were going to go over tonight. But the main two focuses tonight will be this idea of planning, okay, the importance of planning, and also the importance of self-accountability. So being accountable to self. Okay, so these are important topics that I want everyone to, let me see here, my computer's acting a little weird. Two massively important pieces when it comes to your success, your ability to actualize things in your life, your ability to get what you want out of life. These things are massively important. And so I wanted to kind of revisit planning because in the beginning we talked about goal setting. Okay, so in goal setting is an idea of, hey, I have this goal, this set thing that I want to try to get done. What is the best way for me to go about trying to get there, trying to accomplish that? And so in the beginning, when you first join PERSIST Institute, a lot of the materials around goal setting, how to set a proper kind of markers so that where you're at, if you're making progress, all of these things are a part of goal setting. And planning is very similar to goal setting, but planning is like goal setting, taken to the next level. So planning is more of kind of like the way I see it and the way I'm going to teach it tonight is you have your goals, but when you plan, your planning is really based in expectation, or it's based in your intention of what you intend to do. Okay, so it is, realizing the planning is taking it to the next level, right? So it is taking your goals and now actually planning that you will achieve them. And so when you plan for success, you're more likely to succeed. Okay, so we're all going to stay really in line with that in my teaching when it comes to planning. And so the first thing I want to talk about is why is planning important? And a lot of people fail in life in this area. They don't plan. And we see this in so many aspects of life. I mean, most of your financial advisors and your financial people are going to talk to you about, planning to succeed in life and planning to make sure that you're set up financially and your spouse is set up, your children are set up, you got the proper insurance in place and securities in place. All these things are very common in the financial area. We talk a lot about planning and the importance of it. So financial planning is very, very common, okay? And not so much when it comes to your goals or your vision for your lifelong about planning for that type of success. And so that's what I'm going to be talking about here. Yes, financial planning is absolutely important. I have a financial advisor myself. I pay people monthly to help me with my money. Okay, so this is something that is extremely important. But I'm not just talking about it in a financial sense. I'm talking about it in a life sense. I'm talking about it in a sense of your dream, your vision, whether it be starting a company, whether it be getting into professional school, whether it be becoming a professional athlete, and whether it be becoming a singer, whatever your goal is. Okay, we're talking about planning for that success. So we got our goals. We set our goals in place. We've got our track in, our track plan in place. This is how we're gonna slowly and surely get to our goal. But then the planning piece is the next level. Okay, so it's like planning that I'm actually going to succeed. And what is so planning is really, really long term thinking. And I want to talk some about the psychology of planning too, because one of the reasons a lot of people fail to plan is because they're lacking in a couple of areas. So one of the areas is belief. Okay, so and I'll talk about belief, and then I'm going to talk about intention. But belief is what your actions. Everything is rooted in belief. So a person is going to do, say, speak, act in accordance with how they believe. So they are going to always work consistent with their belief. So if your level of belief isn't at a point where you have that certainty from a belief standpoint, you have the certainty that you're going to succeed, well then you aren't going to be motivated or inspired to uh, plan. Okay, because if you don't expect, right, so if you don't expect to actually get your goal, if you don't expect to actually get there, you just like having it as this fairy tale in your brain, then that is going to convince you that you actually planning to make it happen isn't worth your time. Okay, so I'm talking about you with it. You intend. Okay, so we'll talk about intention as well. So intention is where this is what I intend. This is like I'm not playing around. This is what I'm going to do. This is hey, this is my wholehearted intent is to do X, Y, Z. Okay, so much so I got my goals in place. I got my track marks that I'm working toward every day. I got the things that I'm looking at every month. And then it's like, oh yeah, now I'm actually planning that I'm here and have this sort of success at this point, right? So now let me plan for it when I'm winning. Okay, so planning is critically important, and it goes really well. It goes really well match, but I think they're a little bit different because when when you plan, it's like, hey, I really believe I'm going to make this happen. Okay, so my question to you and my first challenge to you with this training this week is, what's your planning like? Okay, so you got your goal setting, right? Maybe you've set your goals, maybe you have put some action steps in place, but have you planned to actually win? Have you thought ahead? Have you thought ahead to say, if and when I do win, right, or I do grab or obtain this goal, okay, what is that going to look like? Okay, can I start planning right now for what that is going to look like in the future? So a lot of people get really overwhelmed when you talk about the future. It's an overwhelming thing. I mean, we just have today, and the past is gone. Some people really kind of worry about the past, and the past is more kind of depression driven. If it okay, this happened to me before, and it's always going to be like that, right? So that's kind of like the root of depression is a preoccupation or being preoccupied with the past. Okay, and anxiety is actually the opposite. It's kind of like a preoccupation in your mind or being preoccupied by an idea in the future. Okay, so you're anxious about something that's going to happen in the future. So a lot of people have anxiety around the future, anxiety around what their life's going to look like, anxiety around all of this planning. How do I have to plan for everything? And you will hear the advice, I just take it one day at a time. And I think in some settings that is appropriate. But I do believe that if you have an intention or a vision for your life, the person that has a plan, the person that is planning to succeed is going to be more likely to succeed. They're going to be more likely to bring that about, right? When they're planning and when they have an intention, right, they can take their brain power, their activity, and they have intention around it. So then they can focus their energy in one specific area, and then they're able to get results in that area. So that's the main difference, and that's why I think planning is critically important. If you have goals for your life. Now, if you don't have goals, then me teaching you about planning is not going to be very helpful for you because you don't know what you want to plan for. But once those goals are in place, then the planning becomes a critical piece. Now, the other piece of this is expectation. And so intention is what you intend to do. Belief is what you believe you can actually do. And then intention, and then I'm sorry, and then expectation. Expectation is what you expect to happen. So when you have for that. So the easiest example that I can kind of think of right now is, hey, say you're in a car and your your expectation is you veering off the road and you're expecting to hit this wall, or you're about to hit this car and you don't see any way of avoiding this. It's about to happen. But when it's an expectation, what do? You start to prepare. What do most people do? They start bracing, right? They start bracing. They grab on to something, or maybe they turn their head, or maybe they do one of these, because they're expecting something to happen in the future. So at the very base of that, though, is that you prepare, right? So you prepare for the expectation. It's the same thing in life. It's the same exact thing in life. You prepare for what you expect, right? So the preparation that you do is rooted in the expectations that you have for your life. So if your expectation is one where you expect, people will say, oh, you don't want to be conceited. People will say, oh, you don't want to be conceited and you don't want to be arrogant and all these things. And yes, I agree 100%. You don't want to be those things. But at the same time, you want to have some sort of positive expectation, belief in yourself, that you're able to bring things about, right? So you have to be able to communicate to others and yourself an expectation that you are going to be able to deliver. So you speaking expectation does not mean, oh, I'm conceited, my identity of self is inflated. It doesn't mean any of that. It just means that you have an intention for your life, you have a belief behind that, and you are expecting the future to be in a certain way. And so that expectation is where you now, since it's expected, now you're able to go and do the planning, right? And put the planning in place for the success that you already expect. Things that are from my life, I always teach about things that are, I've got boots on the ground when it comes to this stuff. And so for me, it took me 5 years to get into medical school. So it took me a long time to gain admission into medical school. And, along the way, 3 years, 4 years not being there, my actions were really based in this expectation that it wasn't my time yet. But I expected my time to come. So, I always kind of told myself, it's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time. It's only a matter of time. And that's what I continued to tell myself, was that it was only a matter of time. And it was only a matter of time before my opportunity would come up. So then that was the expectation piece, was that my opportunity was going to come up. It was just a matter of time. Okay, so how was I able to convince myself and stay focused on that, even in distance? Okay, so this is Persist Institute. All right, so this idea of this expectation is rooted. That's the foundation of persistence, and it's based in expectation. You have to expect to win. So when you expect to win, then that allows you to then plan appropriately. Okay. So again, we have our goal setting, right? So, and here's the idea. If somebody, comes up and talks to you about your vision, your dream, and asks you what your plan is, you should be able to lay out exactly what you're going to do. And so I'm going to send out when I send out to the Persist Institute members, I always was I was always like fascinated when I heard about the story of Tesla and Elon Musk. And Elon Musk wrote years and years ago, talking about what he was going to do with Tesla, like how he was going to grow Tesla, what his plan was for Tesla to be a competitor. Right? He wrote this out, like right on a blog for everybody to see, like exactly what he was going to do and exactly what his plan was. And I think in planning, there is intention, right? So if you don't have a plan, you truly you truly do not expect to get these things to happen. So, what I want you to do is work on the expectation piece in your brain. The more you're able to work on your expectation, believe your expectation, increase your expectation, then you're able to be motivated about planning for that success in the future. Okay, so now, uh, you know, and getting what you want in life takes preparation. Getting what you want in life takes planning. It's going to take, it's going to take you having intention in the future for that. And so, the challenge is, hey, where is my belief? What is my belief level? And is my belief level at a point where I'm actually planning for this success to happen? And so here is something that a lot of people do that I think is a mistake. They say, "Oh, I'm just going to wait and see what happens. Right? I'm just going to wait and see if it takes off. I'm going to wait and see if this, pops. I'm going to wait and see if people buy. I'm going to wait and see what happens." And so that sort of language puts that sort of language puts the it puts the responsibility on somewhere else. It puts the responsibility outside of you. Okay, so if it's like, I'm going to put this out there and I'm just going to see what happens, well, then that means when it comes to planning, expectation, and belief, this is a little different of a shift. This shift is, hey, um, I'm going to make sure that I do whatever I need to do to make sure my plan happens, make sure XYZ happens. Okay, now am I saying every single time it's going to happen? No. Like I said, my story, it took me 5 years to get into medical school. Every year I expected to get in. Every year I expected that that was my year. Was it my year every year? No. Did my year eventually come? Yes. But all this was based in the fact that I had an expectation that I wasn't willing to give up. Okay. And so the same thing for you when it comes to your vision, this expectation and the planning piece. All right. So planning is going to look very different for each person. But my what I'm trying to get through to you is that planning is a very, very important this. What is your intent? What is your strategy? And so what's your intent? What's your strategy? Right? If it's a business, okay, what's going to be your marketing? Okay. What's going to be your plan to enter the marketplace? Okay, what's going to be your position in the industry? What industry are you actually in? Okay, so these are all things that work into your plan. So write your plan out. So the task from this is going to be, what is your plan? And I'm talking long-term plans. Okay. We talk about long-term goals. We talk about long-term goals as well. I want you to have long-term plans as well. And it doesn't have to be this long, elaborate thing. Like, you could even sum up between 1 and 5 years what your plan is. So for 1 to 5 years, I'm going to do this. From 5 to 10 years, I'm going to do this. Or from first to second year, I'm going to do this. But at the end of the day, I'm in. Okay. And to write out what your exact intention is. And then, just like with goal settings, I want that to be top of mind. So you want it to be top of mind. You want it to be something that you're thinking about, talking about all the time. So you want to make sure that you are reviewing this very often. What's going on? So, all right, I think I have really slammed on the planning piece. If you got any questions about planning, shoot them there in the inbox if you got any questions about planning. Okay, but I'm going to move on now to self accountability. And so this is a piece where I think a lot of people, it trips up a lot of people. It trips up a lot of people. And so I'm going to break down why I think being accountable to self is absolutely the most important piece when it comes to accountability, just in general. So, personally, the most important piece when it comes to accountability, just in general. So, you have some built-in accountability there at the level that you want to pursue that accountability. But at the end of the day, you have to be accountable to self. You have to be accountable to you. And so what does that look like in your life? So I want to start off with, the words that you use to describe yourself or to describe your mission. Okay. So when you are talking about, something, what you intend to do, what your plan is, okay, being accountable to yourself is the most important. Okay. You should feel the worst when you tell yourself you're going to do something, you don't do it. But a lot of times people are, They're more concerned with the thoughts of other people, so they're more concerned with letting someone else down opposed to letting themselves down. And I talk about this in a very sense because you being accountable to you should be the number one. If you aren't doing what you need to do, that should be the number one source of pain, right? Is this internal dialogue with you saying, hey, I need to get myself together, right? And so that's looking inside and deciding that I'm going to be accountable to me. I'm not going to let me down. I'm going to do what I say I'm going to do. All right. And so this accountability piece is critical because if you're giving yourself excuses, all the people around you then will start to allow you, depending on their level of commitment to you, they will start allowing your excuses, right, to be okay with them. Because it's you. If this is your dream, this is your vision, and you said you're going to do something, you didn't do it, and then everybody else around heard you do it, you didn't do it, and you're not upset with yourself because you didn't do it. How's everybody else going to be upset about it? You know? And let me tell you, I have an entire coaching business where people pay me, right, to bring up the level of accountability because they know that might be a weakness that they have. And maybe since they are hiring a coach for accountability, maybe their actual threshold for accountability is a lot higher and they want to ensure that they maintain that status for themselves. But what I see a lot in the world is people letting themselves down and being okay with it and letting themselves off the hook. Now, I'm not talking about being harsh to yourself, but I'm talking about doing what you say you're going to do. And you don't need to tell somebody else about it. Okay. You just need to tell yourself, write your goals down. And then I say, how accountable are you to you? When you say you are going to do something, what is the likelihood that you are? And so this is when I talk about the words you use when you're talking to other people, and and two sides of the argument on this. Some people say you should share your goals with other people, tell people what you're going to do because that increases accountability externally, right? So that's going to increase this likelihood that when you see this person again, that they're gonna ask you about that goal you told them you were going to do last time, right? So a lot of people say throw it out into the universe, so then you have to deliver because the fire from other people is going to be is going to be more than the fire that comes from within you. And then you have the other side of the equation to say you don't need to tell anybody, and I'm going to tell you why. A lot of people do talk about what they're going to do. So people, talk is super cheap. Talk is cheap. It's easy to say I'm going to do this. It's easy to say I'm going to be here. It's easy to say those things. It's a little harder to deliver them. But even in saying them, there is some sort of satisfaction. And so that's why I caution people to be out there chopping it up, to be out there chopping it up, telling people what they're going to do, because you do get some sense of or some satisfaction from sharing. And that satisfaction is even before you get the goal. Right, you will have some satisfaction in saying that's what you're going to do. I mean, you can if you're externally focused in what other people think is really important to you, then if you say a goal is high enough, some people might say, "Oh my gosh, wow, awesome, that's great." You might impress people just by telling them your goal. If your intention, right, is to impress people, if your concern is what someone else thinks, if your concern is the accountability that's going to come externally, then you just saying it could potentially give you some satisfaction. You could get some gain internally just from saying it. So if you are the type of person that is susceptible to that, so listen, at Persist Institute, it's about being real with yourself, doing whatever you need to do to make sure that you are successful. If you are a person that can get some sort of dopamine release just from telling someone before you've even done anything, then I would encourage you to keep your vision internally, right? And turn that accountability inside, right? So that's what I would say. Turn accountability inside when it comes to your intention, all right? Because you're going to have two sides to that, all right? Now, I want to encourage you to up the level of self accountability, all right? And there's a lot of ways to do that. And I say, you have consequence, reward, and consequence. Okay. And this is something that you can do within yourself. And I play these games with myself, you know, all the time. Okay. So when I was in medical school, I gave myself a reward at the end of the week if I stuck to my study schedule. Then I allow myself to go out and take Fridays off. And sometimes I would take even more time on Saturday at noon. This was my reward to myself for sticking to my plan. Now, if it was a week where I was off of my plan or I wasn't able to stick to it, well, I didn't get the reward. You don't get the reward, and this is, and we do. I mean, I do it all the time with my kids. I mean, it's like, hey, little buddy, you clean up your playroom. Daddy's gonna get you XYZ, right? Very effective for young people, and also, and we do the same thing in the adult world as well. But maybe it's promotions. Maybe it is, you getting a raise or something. So it's still that carrot that people are chasing, and that consequence if things aren't done. So it happens all the time, right? But what I'm saying is that you can do this to yourself. Okay? Consequence if things aren't done. So it happens all the time, right? But what I'm saying is that you can do this to yourself. Okay? You can set up a system within yourself to do this. All right. And so I just want to encourage you, as you start to, uh, you know, as you start to work your plan, and if you have found yourself to get stuck or stalled, and you haven't been able to, um, you feel stuck, then my question to you is, where is the level of self accountability? Okay, so are you 100% accountable to self? Right? What happens when you don't get things done? How do you feel about that? Now, again, I'm not talking about you beating yourself up. I'm talking about you holding yourself accountable. Okay, and so accountability is putting every single thing in place that will ensure or will help you be successful. And many times, if you don't have a plan, right? If you don't have a plan, your expectation isn't there, your belief isn't there, then your accountability to you're not going to have any accountability, right? Because your accountability is going to be very, very low because the belief isn't there. And you just kind of say, oh, I'm going to do this, but you don't really believe it. You're not planning to make it happen. You're not expecting to make it happen. Okay, so your accountability is going to be very, very low. So all of these things are connected. But I really, really want to encourage Persist Institute members. I really, really want to encourage every single person, you know, um, to increase their self accountability. Increase your accountability to yourself. And there's a lot of ways that you can do that, but one of the easiest ways is risk and reward. Okay, give yourself a reward if you're successful. This is how you're able to keep going. This is how you increase the likelihood that you get what you want, is when you have a plan in place and you have an expectation, and then you have a reward that you are seeking, and you are looking after getting that reward. Very, very powerful. It's very powerful in your life when you're able to do this. It's the exact opposite when you don't expect it. It's the exact opposite. Low accountability, low results, things don't get done. All right, guys. So we talked about planning, and we talked about some self accountability. And so now I want to talk a little bit about where we're going. I want to do some admin stuff, and then I'm gonna wrap it up with a couple other points. So for our accountability calls, which is this external accountability that we're talking about. Okay, so all of it works. You want to use it all. You got the self accountability up the format. Okay, so before I was just doing it over the phone. We were calling in on the call line. I'm gonna actually switch that to Google Hangout. I'm gonna try to make it a little more interactive, and I'm gonna try to do some video cam stuff with you guys now. So when we schedule our call, I'm gonna try to get I'm gonna do it via Google Hangout. You're gonna get a link, you'll get an email invitation. All you gotta do is click on your link, go to your web browser, you're right there. You got a webcam, you can get it on your phone as well. You get your webcam popping, and boom, we're going to be on. People are going to be able to see you. We'll have facial expressions. We'll have everybody there in the mix. It'll be a live meeting, okay, on the phone. So I'm thinking I'm going to try to take up, uh, launch up the level of accountability, launch up the level of engagement as well on the accountability calls if we do that with video. Okay, so we'll see. I mean, I'm gonna try it out, and I'm always trying to make Persist Institute better and switch up things and keep it innovative and interesting. Is where we're able to come on and do this, and then you can watch the replays in the member area, and then you have the accountability calls where we're going to be able to see face to face. We're all going to be there looking at each other, looking at folks in the eyes, and helping them to persist toward their vision. So that's one thing. Next week, I am, oh my gosh, I'm so super pumped. We're going to have Impact, Purpose, and Destiny experience here, right here in Carlsbad, California. That's going to be coming on next week, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. All the Persist Institute members, you already have tickets. If you've registered, great. If you haven't, we're going to see you next time. As long as you stay a member of Persist Institute, you'll always be able and welcome at Impact, Purpose, and Destiny. This is everybody's going to come together, and it'll be actually we're going to be in here for most of it. So actually going to be in this room. So what else? That's pretty much it from the admin piece. And so let me just encourage you guys are here. I'm so excited you're in the program. I'm so excited you are focused on your goals, and you're focused on pushing things forward, and you're focused on making things happen in your life. I just want to congratulate you guys for making it this far. Many of you have been in Persist Institute for, we're coming up on a year. I think we started this, the first class was almost a year ago now. It was November, so September, October, November. So we're almost at 9 months. Okay, go back, look at some of the success that you've had. Go back, look at some momentum that you've had. Go back, look at some of those areas where you could have done more. Go back, look at some of those places where you missed the mark. Okay, and increase that accountability to self. Say to yourself, let me get back on that horse. Let me revisit that goal. That accountability to self. Say to yourself, let me get back on that horse. Let me revisit that goal. Let me look at my plan again. Maybe I need to readjust my plan. Maybe it didn't go the way that I wanted it to go. It is okay. Maybe I go back and I make some adjustments. But at the end of the day, you are going to persist. You are going to continue to push forward, and you will eventually get there. So I just want to congratulate you guys. Do not give up too early. Dream big, don't give up too early. Okay, and that's what we are absolutely here for, is support system, get you the training and the mindset, because it's all psychology. It's a majority of psychology. Majority of it is how you think. The majority of it is how you can convince yourself. The majority of it is, what do I think about this? That is the majority of success in my perspective. It's a little bit of nuts and bolts and mechanics, but most of it is the mindset. Because if I can convince you to persist, if I can convince you to continue to improve, if I can convince you to believe and raise your expectation, then I'm able to get you to do more than if, a person did not believe. If a person didn't believe, if a person didn't have that expectation, if a person didn't think they can do it, well, what are they going to do? How are they going to? How are they going to look when it comes up, right? So, at the end of the day, expectation is absolutely critical, my people, and that's why I'm so passionate about this topic of persistence. That's why I'm so passionate about bringing you guys an obscene amount of value within this institute, within this program, and bringing together some very ambitious people as you guys are pushing toward what you are trying to accomplish. Okay, so and folks have been doing amazing. We have success story upon success story of folks in Persist Institute that have, voiced an intention in the beginning. And, we'll have folks that are already walking right now. Okay, so already walking in right now. And I'm just so excited, pumped for you guys because, just to see you progressing, it just warms my heart and it makes me excited. All right, so I'm gonna wrap this up tonight with a couple of other points. Okay, and these things are near and dear to my heart. So we're talking about planning. We're talking about accountability. We're talking about being accountable to self. And I don't think you can leave this conversation without talking about, ways to increase that accountability. Okay. And so we have our accountability calls within Persist Institute for that very reason, is to increase accountability. So me focusing on and teaching you about self accountability does not in any way, shape, or form negate the valuability. So me focusing on and teaching you about self accountability does not in any way, shape, or form negate the value of external accountability. It does not negate the value of putting people in your life that are going to hold that fire to your butt to make sure, right? You got some people that are going to hold you and hold you accountable, right? That does not negate the fact that you do need to surround yourself with people that are going to encourage you and push you forward when it comes to what you want to do. That doesn't negate that at all. Okay. And this makes it very, very, very important. Okay. And so this piece is, hey, get yourself folks that you talk to regularly. So you can do that through Persist Institute. Okay. You can do that through Persist Institute. You can find a partner through Persist Institute. And a lot of people have. You can, do that through a church group. You can do that through a small group. You can do that through somebody in class. If you're in school, you can do that through any sort of organization that you are part of, a team accountability. You can call up somebody that you trust, you love, and say, hey, will you be my accountability partner in this area? Can I text you in this area when I go to the gym? Or, hey, I'm trying to increase my, time in the gym. Can I text you, every morning to make sure that I go? And, are you willing to text me, when you get up if I didn't text you or something like that, right? And that's just one example how you can do it. But at the end of the day, use everything that you have in your power to help increase the accountability, increase the probability that you're going to do what you said you're going to do. Because many of it's just doing the work. A lot of times it's just doing the work, people. It's just doing the work, my friends. Work, my friends. If you have a way to figure out, to encourage yourself, how you will have more success, more fulfillment. You will be more of an inspiration to other people. You'll be able to encourage other people more to go after their vision because you're able to get more done when you're doing the work. Now, if you find yourself stuck, you find yourself where you haven't gotten things done, you have to ask yourself, are you actually doing the work, my friend? Okay. And so everything that I'm teaching you here is working to increase the likelihood that you are going to do the work. Okay. So that's what I'm talking about, planning. All right. We got to plan to win. Or we got to plan to win. I love a guy, Grant Cardone. He wrote a book called 10X. And I love the way that he approaches things. He is a big thinker, and he's a big dreamer and overachiever type of person. And he always kind of talks about 10x in your goal. And the first time I was like, man, my goals are kind of big. This dude is like, you want to be a millionaire? He said 10 million. 10x that bad boy. And I'm like, wow. Okay, so but it gave me a perspective, right? And I had always heard the quote, uh, shoot for the moon. If you miss, you'll be among the stars, right? And it's the same concept. It's the same concept with 10x and everything. So when Grant Cardone talks about, Grant would talk about 10x in your goal, 10x in your vision. I got it because I was like, okay, if I 10x this thing, if I 10x it, and then say maybe I only hit half of that, well, I've already 50, I've already five times it, my original goal. So the idea is to dream big, stay big, and then put the carrots in place, the rewards in place, the system in place that's going to allow you to keep pushing during the hard times, and make sure you are doing the mindset work so that you're able to continue to believe, continue to see the vision, remind yourself why you're doing it, remind yourself of your why. All these things matter. Okay. Have somebody that you know and trust remind you of your why every now and then. Have somebody that you know and trust remind you of why you wanted to do this in the first place. If you're reminding yourself and now you have another person that's reminding you, what sort of impact is that going to have in your life? Okay, and so I want to close this out, getting a little poking at the emotions a little bit, and I'll tell you from my story, from my life, a lot of my why is out getting a little poking at the emotions a little bit, and I'll tell you from my story, from my life, a lot of my why is my family. The reason why I do a lot of the things that I do is because of my family. The reason I work so hard, the reason why I am living my dream. One of the things that pushes me to live my dream and to build my businesses and to grow my online business and grow my speaking business and do all the things that I'm doing. Grow my online business and grow my speaking business and do all the things that I'm doing is because I want to be the first example of somebody living their vision to my children. I want to be an example of that to them. And I have 5 kids. Okay. And so, when I think about why I started doing what I do, and when I think about how I'm serving a mission that's bigger than me, and when I think about how I'm adding value to the world, when I think about how I'm making ripples in the world with the work that I do, when I think about the lives that are going to be changed simply by me walking in my gift, simply by me adding my gift to the world, when I think about that, it's easy for me to get up in the morning. When I think about that, it's easy for me to work late. When I get up when I think about that, it's easy for me to get myself going. And you have the same motivation within you. You have a why that big within you. It's just a matter of you figuring out what are you doing and reminding yourself why you are doing it. Remind yourself, why are you doing what you are doing? Who is benefiting? Who is the benefactor of your hard work? What legacy are you creating for your family? How is this going to change the lives of the people around you? What is the overall mission that you are serving? What is your overall intention with what you are doing? This is important, guys. So I just want to encourage you, keep pressing, and I am excited you guys are here in Persist Institute. I've done all my administrative stuff tonight. I have talked about what I wanted to add value with you guys in tonight. We're getting ready to wrap up. And if anybody has any questions, if anybody's on, if you got questions, shoot them over in the chat box. I am more than happy to answer some questions tonight. If we don't have any questions, then I'm going to keep. I'm gonna get ready to wrap up here, and we'll go from there. So you look for an invitation for a Google Hangout for our next accountability call. I'm gonna try to do it pretty quick. So I'll probably will do it next weekend. So not this weekend, probably next weekend, and it. I'll probably maybe do a little bit of a live from IPD for you guys on the Google Hangout. That's what I think I'll probably do. I think quick Google Hangout with everyone as a part of IPDX, as we'll be going Saturday morning. So that's what I'll probably do for our accountability call. So I'll have you guys come in and chime in with everybody next Saturday as a part of IPDX. If you're a Persist Institute member and you're not going to be able to make it, then I will Google Hangout you guys in on Saturday, so you guys can be a part of that in the morning. All right, guys, if there aren't any questions when it comes to planning, if there aren't any questions when it comes to being accountable to self, there aren't any questions about thinking about why you are doing this, thinking about your legacy, then I'm going to sign off. But I'll see if you have any questions for me, shoot them in the we're looking at about 52 minutes, so I'm staying on time. God bless. God speed, okay? And remember, dream big, and don't give up too early, guys. All right, take care. God bless.